Welcome to the Porch Project Podcast. I am Steve Porch. Joining me on this grand adventure is my lovely wife, Tamara.
Hello, all to the world and all who are in it.
Have we ever done this before?
We've attempted it a few years back.
Yeah. How do we describe our show? What are we doing here?
Pretty much, we are just a couple of poor people who are living day to day. And since you used to be in radio, we figured that we would do a podcast on everyday life, and who knows who's going to listen.
Absolutely. We want the world to share my mellifluous pipes.
Yes. As I mentioned, my hubby used to be in radio as a radio DJ. He was it Steve the Beast or something like that?
Yeah, I was, and then I was just Steve Porch when I was with Doug Layton. Then I was Big Steve when I was with the Fox way back when. But yeah, I've done radio before here and hither and yon, and done some podcasting and things. But right now, I'm just a travel agent.
A very good travel agent, I might add.
Okay, so I'm not just a travel agent. I'm an awesome travel agent. Our show content, basically, it's whatever we want to throw in, but we always start with a Bible verse.
Yes, we feel that it's very important to always put God first in our lives, because despite all we've been through, He's always been there for us.
So what is our Bible verse for today?
Isaiah 40:31.
But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.
Amen. And believe me, I live by that verse daily.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're running out of strength, and you feel like you could use wings like eagles.
Yes. Sometimes I think it'd be easier on my feet if I did have wings.
Yes. Yes. Gravity is not my friend.
No, gravity is not my friend either. And we'll blame it on Obama.
Right. Speaking of Obama, what's going on in politics?
Oh, well, the fact that I'm an insurance agent, I have been asked a lot of questions about the new health care law. And personally, honestly, to tell you the truth, I just see it just being a big, huge train wreck. Like I said before it got started, and it's just become politics. I mean, people passing law just to support their pockets.
I wish I had read that quote. Well, it's not a quote. It's a meme. One of those little picture dealies that people do that made me laugh a week or two ago. It was a picture of Obama, and it said something like, if you do not get the insurance that you don't want on the website that does not work, I will fine you.
Yes. It has been a big, big pain. I mean, even with our insurance. I mean, we started off, we were paying for insurance, and we knew we had a high deductible because we were trying to keep our rates low. And it was supposed to be $10,000 out of pocket. And, of course, we took care of that in the first year.
The first 3 months.
Yeah. And then we tried to go to the doctor after almost a year on the program to get you seen when you were having bronchitis, and then all of a sudden now we have a $12,000 co-insurance.
Right, I have a copay, which is what we expected, and then on top of that, after I get through with the copay, there's also a co-insurance of 20%. And then we get to the deductible, which should have had an out-of-pocket maximum for me of $10,000, which I'd spent a week in the hospital with bleeding ulcers the first part of the year, and that was gone early.
Yeah.
So I owe money. So I paid almost half of my salary for the insurance,
and
then I've got another half of my salary in bills backed up, and I'm still having to pay money.
Yeah, to go see a doctor. It would be cheaper to take the $800 a month that you're paying for insurance and just pay the doctors directly instead of paying for insurance that's not covering anything.
Right.
I mean, you're literally being say you have these benefits for this insurance company, but you're only going to get these benefits after you've already paid. So why not just go ahead and pay the doctors directly?
Exactly. And in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, it works out better that way. But Obama's decided that everybody has to have insurance. And by the way, proof has surfaced and will continue to surface that Obama knew that, and I mean, common sense dictates that, some insurance plans would have to be canceled for everybody to, by mandate, have to have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
There are plans that cannot continue. There are plans that would have become illegal that must be discontinued by law, and there are plans that are no longer feasible for the insurance company that would no longer exist, that would have to go away. So for Obama to come out and say, "Oh, if you want to keep your insurance, you just keep your insurance; it'll still be there," he had to have known that was false.
Right. I mean, harping on Obama, I don't care what president we have in office. Personally, I find a problem with every president we've ever had. Every politician has good and has bad, and every politician is always saying they're into office to be there for the people. Now, that may be the way they started out in life, but it's not the way they end up. It usually ends up being for the, oh, I've got to work for the people that put money in my campaign, or I got to work for my pocket, or, I mean, for instance, when the government shut down and you had some of the people that were giving up their pay in the House, and then there are others that say they couldn't afford to do that, and they're federal workers, and that just made me mad. I mean, you're going to sit there and say you can't afford to give up pay, but you laid off your federal workers that need paychecks, that live week to week. I mean,
Right. I'm going to say I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm a staunch libertarian. I think pretty much anything government has ever done, private industry could have done better. And I know I'm overgeneralizing, and that's fine. But um, I think definitely on that topic, nobody's nobody won that.
no, no.
Um, you've got people grandstanding on both sides of the aisle, and the fact of the matter is that if both sides had done their job, they would have solved the problem prior to needing a government shutdown.
Hmm.
They did not do that. Um, so for them to then say that, oh, you know what, I have to take my paycheck because I can't afford not to. Well, you know what, you're making 10 times as much as some of the people that you put out of work that don't have the option.
Right. They have to, literally have to, can lose their house if they don't pay their bills. You know, it's not easy for actual hardworking people that don't have the special ways of getting things, like the government can when they happen to not get paid a certain way they want to.
That's one of the things that has absolutely irked me. You were saying that maybe sometimes politicians begin as being of the people. I don't think there's been, me personally, I don't think there's been a politician that started out as being by the people and of the people since about 1812. Back in the day when the Constitution was written, when we first founded this country, politics was not a job. It was not intended that anyone would be a career politician. You would be a farmer. You would be like George Washington. He was a gentleman farmer and a brewer and a distiller. That's what he did for a living. He went and donated his time. He did get reimbursed, but he went to Washington and did his service. That's how he considered it. And then he went home to his farm.
Right.
And that's the way it should have continued to be.
It's not, because I think schools now, they have political science education courses, and literally law school and all this stuff that teaches people how to get in office and how to go about doing it and what angles to play. I mean, there's people that they hire that's trained to do that for them, that writes their scripts and puts them in the public eye based on public opinion. It's almost like being in Hollywood. To make the best rating of movie, we've got to do this.
Right. We've created an artificial industry of keeping people in office, and it's ridiculous.
And a poor man can't get in office.
Right, a poor man can't get in office, and if he could, nobody'd vote for him because he can't. He's not going to promise what he can't pay off because he's learned through his life that that's not how you run your life, but that's not how you become a politician. And also, politicians, when you get to be in Congress, little things like, Social Security, they decided they didn't like it, they opted out.
Mm-hmm.
Congress doesn't have to pay into Social Security, so they don't have to worry about if Social Security's there when they get ready to retire. If they don't like the laws that they foist on the American people, they opt out of them. I think step one, anything you make me do, you ought to have to do first.
Right. You have to lead by example, and it's not one of those do as I say, not as I do deals. It should be do as I say and do as I do. I mean,
right, and that's what all these people do. The rich, wealthy elitist that say, "Oh, you know what? We should pay more taxes." You know what? Hey, you got the money. You go ahead and pay more taxes. You're welcome to. I don't have the money to pay more taxes, and if I did, I wouldn't want to because I'm not getting any return on my investment.
no, and believe me, we don't have the money to pay anything right now.
Exactly.
But I guess you would say my daughter asked one day. She said, why is that you and Steve make the same amount as our uncle does by himself, and yet they live so much better than we do?" And I simply said, because one factor, they don't have health problems. They don't have the medical bills, and health is a big issue out there. And
We've got three people in a three-person household, all three of which have
chronic illness. And and Obamacare, believe me, you would think we'd be the first to jump on it. Pre-existing conditions, all this stuff that need to be covered in our case. But no matter what our situation is, Obamacare is just not feasible because it is hurting the economy. It is hurting the people who can't afford it, and it's hurting you. I mean, you're our primary source of money right now for the household, and literally half your paycheck goes to an insurance program that is forced to obey Obama's new law, and we are getting nothing.
Right, and what's going to wind up happening is that the healthcare system itself is going to go downhill because they're not going to see the return investment that they want because uh, when everyone has the same health care, then everyone has crappy health care.
Well, and you're also going to start seeing where the doctors, even though that they really don't need to, but they'll ask you who's your health care provider, and if they don't like your health care provider, they can simply say, "Well, we're not taking new patients at this time." So doctors are going to start screening people, and if they're not already, they're going to say, "Hey, we just can't see these people."
Well, they'll be mandated so they can't do that.
Oh, but they will.
But they just won't take new clients, and so the good doctors will be full, and you'll get stuck with what's left over.
Right.
So anyway, let's leave that topic before we.
Let's get off that elephant or donkey or whatever it is.
Right.
Well, speaking of health, this is my personal segment, my personal favorite segment, and I wanted to give a shout out to all of my fellow sufferers of LSE and FM, which is FM not being a radio station.
FM, no static at all.
People from the Love Strong group and Living with Lupus, Living Life, Wolf Alpha Pack, Battle of the Unknown, the Fibromyalgia page, lupus.org, and fmaware.org. All of us want to get the word out about our illness. I personally have systemic lupus erythematosus.
SLE.
SLE. And I was diagnosed at age 13, 1987, after I had lost my spleen and nearly lost my life. It is a misunderstood illness. We get a lot of people who don't understand, and we try to help people understand the illness. But I have learned in reading my support group pages and hearing from some people that a lot of what they face is coming from their own family, is coming from their coworkers, people that they need to support them, and they're not getting that support. A lot of it deals with, hey, you look healthy. There's nothing. You don't look sick. I mean, what's the deal? Um, Really, SLE, it can kill. It can damage your organs. It can take your kidneys, your heart. Mine has led into brain atrophy, and loss of spleen. I've lost my memory, continue losing my memory, balance, uh, so many other problems that go along with lupus. That the main problem being extreme fatigue and being tired, uh, not being able to be in public, sometimes not being able to talk to people. Uh, Depression is a humongous factor with any chronic illness because you want to be able to do and you want to be able to go, and this illness and the pain just keeps you chained uh, to reality, and you can't break free from it. It's just sometimes it just gets to be too hard. Uh, Fibromyalgia, or FM, is what me and my daughter Allison suffer from, and it's a widespread pain all over the body, which is due to a brain defect. None of these illnesses are contagious. It is basically with lupus, it's your body is allergic to itself, so it fights against itself because it thinks it's a foreign illness or an entity in your body. Um, Allison has the worst part of fibromyalgia because she's trying to go to college, and it really attacks her immunity, keeps her sick, keeps her down, and all of these illnesses have flares or remission. Flares being when you're at your worst, which can last a few hours, a few days, a few months, to remission when you are not having any issues, although there are some slight symptoms that are there. We get a lot of people who don't understand that, don't want to understand it, and much rather close their eyes to our situation. Uh, we don't mind getting advice from anybody, especially those that are meaning to provide us advice from the goodness of their heart. But if you're going to give advice to anybody that suffers from a chronic illness, make sure that you do your research first, because there are some things that you can say that will be harmful to those that you're trying to help. Um, Being the fact that three of us in our family have chronic illness, you suffer from spondylosis and degenerative arthritis, which is also a chronic illness, is chronic pain. How do you feel? How do you feel since you met me? I mean, what was it like the first time I told you I had lupus and fibromyalgia?
Well, it's something that you hear about, but you can't see. And when someone has lupus, the more common, what's the more common lupus?
It's SLE. I mean, yeah, SLE.
No, the one
Oh,
that's not
Discord?
systemic. Yeah, Discord lupus is, you have the face patch and you have the issues of that nature, and that's the only one I'd ever heard of. I wasn't familiar with systemic lupus that attacks different systems of the body, and you can't see it. You have somebody with muscular dystrophy, and you can tell, you can see that their muscles have wasted away, and their bodies are withered, and you see somebody that's got a broken leg, you can see that. Somebody that's got lupus, that's got fibromyalgia, you can't see that, and it is common, and it is, well, in my case, all my life, if you're not bleeding, go to school. If you're not bleeding, go to work. If you physically, if I can't see anything wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you. Get up and go. And that's that's pretty common. That's a blue collar work ethic that a lot of people espouse and a lot of people have, and I'm cool with that. I still operate under that myself, but I understand that just because I can't see your illness, I can see how hard you try, and I can see your struggle because I'm here with you all the time. And a lot of people can't see that. And, they have operated like I've operated. Hey, you know what? I've got chronic pain, but I struggle through it, and I wind up paying for it later. With more pain tomorrow, and finally, after X amount of over strenuousness and overworking my joints, and I get where I just can't go. I get where I can't get out of bed. Well, the same thing happens to you, just on a magnified scale. If you push yourself too hard today, then you're likely to have a flare tomorrow, and you're likely to have the fatigue and the brain fog, and it's going to build up until you wind up in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I think more people need to educate themselves that just because I can't see your hair falling out and I can't see blood gushing from a wound doesn't mean that you're not sick, and it doesn't mean that you don't have struggles. And hey, you know what? Walk a mile in someone else's moccasins, because then you're a mile away and you've got their moccasins. No, just try to understand what other people go through.
Yeah,
That's the biggest step in anything. Just try to understand. Don't say, "Oh, you're parking in a handicap zone, and I don't see anything visibly wrong with you. How dare you?" You don't know.
right. I feel guilty. I've got a handicap license plate, and the doctor gave it to me. And I don't know if this has ever scared Steve before, but I've literally been in a grocery store during a flare moment that came on instantly and not know where I was at, not know where the car was at. I panic, and that tends to happen unexpectedly. It's not something, some people can't. It will sometimes give you warnings about something coming up in your system, but when, for instance, you're walking through Walmart and all of a sudden you panic, or something washes over you, or you just have that panic moment. Well, the reason why I had a license plate is because I have brain atrophy, and I've possibly had strokes, and there's a lot of things going in my system that prevents me from sometimes walking, from sometimes moving, and not to mention the fact that you have your disability with your arthritis and spondylosis that prevents you from walking on certain days, and you have to use one of those uh, uh, race cars that they use in the stores. But on our good days, like a good day where it's not cold, humid, or hot, which in Alabama is very rare, uh, we can get up and we can walk, and we can walk from uh, from the car and look healthy. But what happens after we've walked through the store? We walk from the car to the store. When we walk through the store, what happens when we get out of the store and have to walk back to the car? That.
Right, and picking up bags of dog food and whatever, and it's not common, but it's occasionally I'll have a joint lock up, and it may be where it's a struggle to get to that first parking space. I may or may not make it. So
Right.
anyway, it's just one of those things that try to empathize with other people. That's all
Right.
I'm saying.
And know that they are sensitive, not only to the pain they're going through, but in the fact that they feel like they're going through it alone. I'm very blessed that I have my husband and my daughter who support. We support each other. They support me. I have my friends, my fellow support group friends that have helped me. It's just the support is the biggest thing you can give somebody. It doesn't matter if you truly believe their illness or not, or know anything about their illness. If you're a family member, it's your Christian duty to support your family, to be there for them and help them out. Uh, not to persecute them just based on the fact that you don't understand what they're going through. And if you need to understand, if you want to understand, ask them what they can do to find out more about their illness. Uh, you will see a big change in that person if you give them the support they need.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what we're going to talk about pretty much each time, is we're going to try to cover some health issues in this particular segment. But we also want to get down to it's all business.
Well, it's not all business.
No, it's all business when it comes to good business.
So what kind of business are we talking about today?
Well, you mentioned earlier that you were a travel agent.
That I am.
And you actually just got off from helping. You work for an emergency after hours travel agency. We won't say who.
Right. My paying gig is as an emergency after hours travel agent. I work for a company that is contracted to a whole lot of companies that, yeah, you know what? Their travel agents get to go home at 5 o'clock and don't have to work the weekend. So that's what I do.
Right. But you get to meet a lot of interesting people. I mean, we're not going to mention these particular people, but some famous people, from some famous sports people. Roll Tide.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some famous sports people and some rap and hip hop artists and singers and actors and people in the movie industry and things of that nature, and it's really cool, and you get to help people, and
you even help those that aren't as famous. It's just people that need to get out and about and do their travel.
right.
And but I guess today's topic, we're talking about how to get prepared when you travel, or what to do, because you do receive a lot of phone calls where people end up panicking because they don't have what they need.
Yeah, well, a lot of you would be surprised how many people, don't. Well, they call me and they're in traffic, a half an hour out from the airport in a 2-hour traffic jam, and their flight leaves in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Too much time is always about right. Always plan for things to take longer than they will, because the airline doesn't care if your cab broke down. So you know what? Leave yourself extra time. Other things to take into consideration: travel documents. If you are leaving the country, well, you have to have your passport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take 2 photocopies of your passport. Put your actual passport in your pocket. Put 1 copy in your luggage. Put another copy in your shoe.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose your luggage, if somebody picks your pocket, you still got a copy of your passport. That way, you can go to your consulate and they can get you another copy of an official copy of your passport, so you can get home.
Mm-hmm.
They can still do that anyway, but it just makes things easier. Also, take a photo of your passport with your camera, with your cell phone. Take a photograph of your travel documents, your boarding pass, your itinerary. That way, regardless of, I've walked away from my luggage, somebody's got my luggage, I've wound up, the flight's oversold and they checked my carry-on bag, I don't have my luggage. You can flip out a picture of your information and have it there with you.
And it also comes in handy when they have to call someone like you, because you always ask them for their what's that number they you ask for?
Well, I ask for your record locator a lot if I can't find it by your name, and it's easy to have that.
Right.
And if you're looking for your flight and you don't want to dig through your luggage to find your itinerary, well, you can find it on your phone, look up at the thing, and find out where the order board, and find out where your flight is to go get on your flight. Another thing, what kills me is people, and there are a lot of snotty people in the world that feel like, well, you know what? I paid for my ticket. It's my right to be bossy and to be ugly to the person across the counter from me. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Everywhere you go in travel and hospitality, the person across the desk from you makes a whole lot less money than you do. And they don't have a lot of sympathy for your snotty attitude. A smile and some friendliness can take you a long way.
Right. It can also get you a very good upgrade to first class if
It
you're
can
nice
get you
enough.
upgraded to first class. It can get you upgraded to a nicer hotel room. Like, for instance, I've worked as a travel agent and I've worked as a hotel front desk clerk. I know what rooms are available in the hotel. If somebody comes up to me and is holier than thou and acting like how much better than me they are, then I can just gladly put them in the room below the room housekeeping uses on the next floor, next to the elevator, next to the ice maker, next to all the traffic. And hey, it's the exact same room, but it's going to be noisy, it's going to be loud, and there's going to be housekeeping there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to get a lot of sleep. Or I can give you a room with quiet, away from the crowd, and hey, you know what? I could even upgrade you to the suite that I know is empty and that is not going to be checked into if you smile and if you're friendly.
So pretty much that. Don't do like I did. Now, when we went to Washington, D.C., and of course we got lost, we ended up at the Naval Yard instead of our hotel thanks to the GPS. And it was the Fairmont. Oh my gosh, it was such a great hotel. But by the time we got there, we were both irritated. We were hurting. We were just, despite the fact that I was short, the concierge that was there
Was super nice
he
and
was,
super professional, and he did a great job, but he didn't have to.
yeah, he didn't have to, and we're lucky because most of the time it goes the opposite way. If you go in fussing at them, I mean, now if you have a legitimate fuss, you know, treat it like business. Treat it like, hey, me and you need to talk. I wasn't happy about this. We need to take care of this. Don't go at them as
Well,
if,
be businesslike, but say, you know what? The hotel has done X. This has happened. Don't say you did this and you need to do that, because once you make it a confrontational, they're going to do the bare minimum that they can do.
yes, their biggest deal is just to get you out of the place as fast as they can.
And tip three, tips and $10, $20 handshakes are not out of style.
Yeah.
A lot of people will tell you that, hey, you know, when you check into the hotel, uh, they're going to give you the room they're going to give you. Well, I can tell you from personal experience here too, if you smile, if you ask for an upgrade, and if you slip a $10 bill across the table, if there's an upgrade available, you're probably going to get it.
Yeah.
For instance, we were at the Luxor, asked for an upgrade, smiled, was nice, and we got on the same floor of the Luxor with. We were right around the corner from Chris Angel's room, and we had a humongous suite with a whirlpool tub and a
Had
little
great view.
dining area and fantastic view out the window to Mandalay. And hey, it was awesome. But you know what? I didn't pay for that room. I paid for a cheap room. So you know what? Friendliness, a tip, being nice to people. You know what? Especially if you're on vacation. You're on vacation. Be happy.
Yeah. And not all hotels will be able to do it. There will be some that are full and some that are uh, owned by an independent owner who, just could care less who you are. But, if you stay in a well-known establishment that is well taken care of, and you're really nice about it, a lot of things can happen for you.
Word gets around, and karma will come back. If you're nice to the front desk agent, he's going to tell the bellboy, who's going to tell the room service guy, who's going to tell so and so, and it will get back. I can't guarantee you the upgrade. Nobody can, but being nice to people always pays off.
And
always.
It never hurts. It never hurts.
And you might just make that person's day, and they might pay it forward to somebody else. But being nice to people always helps, and that's my tip for today.
Right. Now, speaking of businesses, we always want to support our local businesses. Now, we're from Prattille, Alabama, and I don't know if you can tell from our accent.
I don't have one.
You don't have one? But our local business that we want to support is Donut Heaven from Prattille, Alabama. Now,
where is Donut Heaven?
Donut Heaven is in Prattille, Alabama.
It is right off the intersection of Memorial Drive and Main Street in Prattille, across the street from Pizza Hut, on the same side of the street as Winn-Dixie.
Right.
Yeah, in that area, and it is a little storefront operation there. That's I forget what used to be there way back in the day, but it looks like an old Dairy Queen sort of a building.
I think it was a KFC at one time.
I think it was the old KFC there. That's now moved way up.
Near.
Yeah. So that's what it was, and now they are a donut store. And tell us about this donut store.
It is fabulous. The people there, the ladies that I have met there, are very nice. And they make everything from scratch. It's not frozen. Some of the donuts are kind of like Dunkin' Donuts, and some of them are like Krispy Kremes.
Except they do the great humongous. Their yeast donuts are the great humongous ones.
Right. And apple fritters are one of my favorite. Very good. And then they also do the breakfast and lunch croissants and sandwiches.
Right. They do it's called a kolache, Kolache. Their sausage and cheese kolaches are fantastic. It's like they take a big yeast roll and put a smoked sausage with cheese in that sucker and bake it. And I'm going to tell you what, it is fantastic. And this place, I have yet to find anything that was not superlative.
And they are always open very early in the morning until noon, I believe, every day. I also know that their prices are extremely reasonable. I can get a dozen donuts for $5. Me and Steve.
Yeah, we'll go in and we'll have breakfast and get pretty much whatever we want and sit down and have breakfast, and it's usually $5 or less.
Right, and it's just good. I mean, it just makes you feel good going in there. I mean, especially when I see a bunch of donuts and coffee and really know that I probably shouldn't have more than one. But if you are in Prattille, Alabama, and you're looking for a good donut and good coffee, go to Donut Heaven in Prattille and support the local businesses. Now, if you want to have a local business in your area mentioned, please feel free to let us know. We will mention them on air and get them out there to all the peoples of the world.
Absolutely.
So basically, we are now on the most, and this is really going to set Steve off, but now we're on entertainment. And this is the last segment of this show at the moment, and it is the Celebrity Life, Tom Cruise, and his comments about soldiers.
Tom Cruise this week, excuse me, I have to clear my throat, came out with, he was doing an interview, and someone asked him about his job and how difficult it is, and he popped off with some of the most insipid, ridiculous comments I have ever heard. He was talking about how what he does is as difficult as the job of a U.S. soldier.
Yes, and of course, are you shocked by that coming out of a Scientologist's mouth?
Because he has to be away from his family for extended periods of time, and he has to be in bad areas of the world where things are rough and it's a third world. And oh my goodness, he was talking about how brutal it was for him But you know what? At the end of the day, hey, if you work a 15-hour day as an actor, there ain't nobody really trying to kill you.
Right. Yeah. And you get to go home to your family if you want to.
And you make enough money that, hey, when you're not scheduled to be on set, you could take your private jet home if you want to.
Oh, and
you know what? Joe, and I'm referring to G.I. Joe, can't do that. And you know what? There are people trying to kill him. And he is standing in the breach so that you could make a movie and make $10 million off of it. So why don't you grab you a tall, cool glass of shut up and take yes for an answer and say thank you, American serviceman.
Yes, and well, who was it? Mark Wahlberg that.
I loved what Mark Wahlberg did. He said that, hey, you know what? So what if I had to train with a former Navy SEAL to get in shape to do my job? I didn't have to be a Navy SEAL. And he did. The guy that trained me, the Navy SEAL that trained me, did have to be a Navy SEAL. And you know what? I have nothing but respect for him. And he went on and on and on. And look up his comments. I would read them to you, but they are
a little, yeah.
He gets hotter than I do, and he uses the F-bomb a little bit, and I'm not going to do that. But I was very proud of Mark Wahlberg.
Right. So it just gets me. I mean, I like watching Tom Cruise. I mean, he is talented, but I think he's only as talented when it comes to whatever script's put in front of him. Because when you try to get him to speak off script, he is not that intelligent.
He's a good actor. I tend to like his movies, but as a person, the more I find out about him, the more I dislike him. And I love the Lee Child books. I love the Jack Reacher books, and I liked the Jack Reacher movie. I thought it was a real good movie. But I'm gonna have to stop giving Tom Cruise my money.
Right.
If it ain't on Netflix, I'm probably not gonna watch it from Tom Cruise for a while.
Right. Yeah. And you know, if you're going to be in Hollywood, keep in mind that, you know, you are talking and people are listening, but that if you are listening to these people that aren't making any sense and are just talking to be talking, other than us, because we're talking to be talking, but
well, we're real people.
We're real people.
You know what? I've got to go off on a tangent here again. Who takes political and or life advice from a freaking actor? Who wants to hear how they should vote from an actor that has no attachment to the real world whatsoever?
Not unless they grew up in the poor society.
And they still don't know. Samuel L. Jackson, I love his movies. I will take zero advice from the man because he has lost all touch with reality since he started being a big shot movie star.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do both. You can either be an actor or you can be a civilian. You really can't be both. So, you know, be an actor or quit your job and be a civilian and then lead the people. But that is pretty much our show. I do want to say that if you do need travel information or travel advice or anything, you can get a hold of Steve Poarch. He's Captain Poarch's Worldwide Travel. And if you need insurance, you can get a hold of me with Alabama Insurance Agency in Prattille, Alabama. Home, auto, commercial, life. And, you know, just to throw it out there, we are insurance agents. We are not making money off of the insurance that we sell. We are just out there to help our clients make sure they're covered in the way they need to be covered. And it's free. Quotes are free. Advice is free. We are licensed by the state of Alabama. So we have to make sure we follow the law just like anybody else.
Awesome.
So, and we're glad that you joined us today. Now, this is our first cast. It's a little rough.
It's a little rough, and we probably ran a little longer than we should have at now 44 minutes and 32 seconds. But we'll try to be a little tighter, a little bit more polished next time. But we thank you very much for listening. We are the Poarch Family. I'm Steve.
And I am Tamara.
Thank you, and we will see ya.
See y'all.